Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we whistle our way through Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, one very slow and anachronistic truck at a time. I'm the Admiral, Pete Mummert.
I'm the regular Tom Taylor.
I'm the intern, Jerry Porter.
And today we're joined, our first guest of the season, by everybody's favorite zoologist, the man who made legless lizards cool again, John Brueggen. Welcome back.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about Minute 6. Minute 6 begins with Indy leaping down the rocks and whistling for his horse, and ends with Indy leaping onto a circus train.
I wanted to, Indy does a feat that, we talk about things Indiana Jones does that we could maybe do or could never do. I've never been able to do that kind of whistle. I know there's tons of people who can do it.
Either.
Okay. I want no one on the show to be able to do it, so I feel a little bit better.
I can't do it. I can't do that type of whistle.
I feel like
at
John
all.
Brueggen.
I bet
will be able
John.
to do
I
it.
bet John can too. John, can you?
No, I actually can't. I can whistle pretty well, but I don't do it with fingers in my mouth. That seems ridiculous to me.
It always seems effective, and like it gets it's like a very utilitarian whistle.
Right.
It's like you're not whistling a tune, or you're just getting somebody's attention. Get that horse over here.
Well,
Right.
hang on. I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's a little bit of, there's more nuance in that whistle. I think the second whistle that the, Fedora Man, late night Thursday movie Indiana Jones guy, his whistle is utilitarian and just kind of practical. But there's something about Indy's whistle, like I hear a little bit of cat calling in there. And I wondered, like, is he cat calling the horse, and is that why the horse punks him?
Yes.
It's like the whistle dips down, and then it's a glissando up, right?
A glissando.
It's a glissando.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to it right now. You glissandos.
Yeah, how does it? Well, I know you can't do this whistle, but like just do a regular whistle of it, because I forget how it actually
I
goes.
literally just listened to it, and it goes beep, like that.
Yeah.
It's like a Mel Blanc cartoon whistle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like, he's in a hurry. That's anything but practical, but it made me think, so he has an entire whistle language with the horse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a specific call for the horse to come, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because everybody's waiting over in the cell phone parking lot, like for their particular whistle.
Right.
And you're like, he clearly whistled either the wrong whistle. It was like, I want you to come over, and then we'll do that little gag we do for the kids at home. Or it's like, did the horse, I have a question for you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Are horses this cruel?
Horses are this smart. So, and it may have been that they actually wanted him to land on a horse, and the horse, after the third take of saying no, they said, oh, well, this would be funnier this way.
It hurt less.
Would that hurt a horse? That makes me cringe every time I think about it.
Yeah, no, I think the horse would be bothered by it. I think that, 125 pounds of something being just dropped on its back would be a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of serious about that. The horse is smart enough to know, okay, get out of the way of this, especially if it happened at all previous to this. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about it in a few minutes. The horses are so smart that they had trouble filming some shots in another movie I want to mention, and it's one of those things where, okay, you're working with an animal that may or may not be smarter than you, and you got to figure out how to make it do something for the camera. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because it's a great gag. He falls down and goes boom.
No, it's absolutely a great gag, and I would love to hear somebody say whether or not they intended it that way. I mean, Pete, did you see it in the script? Is it written out that he's going to jump and miss the horse, or or anything like that?
I think the horse says, or the script says it's like it is in the movie.
Yeah.
If I recall
really?
correctly. Yeah.
You know what's weird is like I want it to be like I'm the old crank. I don't go for the silly slapstick stuff. It seems a little silly to me. But what would have been really funny is Indy calls for his horse, he jumps and he misses it, and then it'd be funny if Fedora and his guys call for the truck, and then they jump into the truck, but they miss it. Like they miss the truck and it's laying on their faces. The truck just pulls ahead a little bit.
Yeah, you'd definitely be complaining about that if they did it.
I would. That's fair. That's totally fair.
It's true. You would. And I'm glad that you said you're the old crank here, because I kind of have it. My note is, so this is old timey Western slapstick, and it's reminiscent of Temple of Doom. And what's interesting is we're setting up sort of the tone of the movie, right? I mean, in the first 15 minutes or 10 minutes, it was sort of setting up the tone of the movie, where we're going to go and that sort of thing. And it's definitely borrowing a cup of slapstick from Temple of Doom here.
See, wait, I got to stop you, because you've been saying that a lot the last few minutes about like the slapstick and kind of hearkening it back to Temple of Doom. But when I think back on Temple, and I could just be blanking it out, and I'm going through post-traumatic stress or something. But like I don't think of Temple of Doom as being, I mean, it's got its problems, but I don't think about it as being like goofy slapstick. I mean, there's like the goofy like
some
food
of it, like
stuff and,
like
goofy...
the elephant kicks Willie off, and like the bat, like she's running around the campfire with the bat screaming, and like
I take it back. Stand corrected.
That whole minute was in the camp scene was slapstick.
I mean, any of it.
I was here for it.
You were. You definitely were.
I was here for it.
But this one takes it to a lot lighter level. Like this one says, we're going to do the slapstick, but we're not going to have the dark stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, like this is a fun scene. It's fun.
Yeah.
I say that like it's a bad thing, like they're having fun. Like I don't want to be that guy. Like, oh, like, I think I said last time to like, the music here is very like ba 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 ba, and kind of, light and fun. And my immediate reaction is, hey, Raiders never did. Well, they did exactly have that exact music in Cairo when he's trying to find Marion. But he also like murdered a guy in that scene, and Marion was exploded to death supposedly.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like, oh, it's got to be like sick and gruesome. But there's something
well, you
about
haven't got to
lightness.
you haven't got to the clown car yet. That could be disastrous.
That's true. That's where the horror show begins. You're right.
See, I would like that if that were true. It'd be fine. That's hilarious. It's frolicky. It's frolicsome.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
frolic.
that's what we're doing.
Brilliant.
That's what we're doing, and that's fine. I mean, it's a little bit like at the beginning of Temple of Doom, where it settles on you that there's no real imminent danger.
Right.
Yeah, the music sort of keys you in.
And it's kind of, there's a lot of like, dag nabbit, hey, get him!
Yeah.
Get back there.
Yeah, get back there. Exactly. So.
What if he did? What if he stopped and came back? Oh, you wanted me to come back? I'm sorry.
I like, though, that before he whistles for his horse, he tucks his cross into his Hopi belt. And he does it so earnestly. I really feel like he's been practicing this in front of the mirror just for this moment.
Yeah.
Like, this is his big moment.
It's amazing that you mentioned that, Pete, because I say, which it happens at second 9, I had it as an oot belt, or ute belt, right? Like
utility
UTE.
belt.
Like, Well, I had it as Ute, as in the Ute Indians of Utah. Which is named, and I mean, just because I tried to look up that area, they're in Arches, right? And so that's kind of the Native Americans that are around there were the Ute.
It does kind of look like it's beaded.
Yeah.
It's got different colors in it.
It definitely, yeah. So I thought to myself, I mean, the hypocrisy here, I mean, that belongs in a museum. It's like a Ute ceremonial belt. Or actually,
it could be like a week old.
Maybe it belongs with the Utes.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe he just earned it.
Yeah, maybe he earned it. Maybe he made it. We don't know.
Maybe he made it.
Yeah, there were a lot of, especially along these railroad villages, there were always people selling like handmade crafts. So it's also possible he just picked it up.
Yeah.
Look, do we really think he just picked that up? No.
He might have.
He didn't just, this is a guy who knows the crucifix of Coronado. He didn't just pick that up.
Speaking of the cross, though, by the way, if I may interject, I'm already annoyed to find out that we have our own short round in this movie already, and it is the Cross of Coronado. I don't think they've cut to it once yet without playing its theme. This object gets a theme, and they keep playing it. Like he tucks it into his mouth, they go, I forget what the tune is, but it's like a quick little,
Yeah.
In case you don't know what that is, that's the cross that you saw in the cave earlier when we played the song.
And I thought about this. If you do know what that is that the proper place to store it?
In a pinch, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's in a hurry.
Yeah.
But, you know,
He's in a hurry.
this is not the first object to have its own theme song, so we didn't mind it so much
That
when it
is
was
true.
the ark.
Yeah. Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
Okay, but listen, wait a minute. The Ark theme is fantastic. B, I swear to you, they didn't play it every single time. They literally cut to the Ark. I swear to you, they didn't do
We'll
that.
see if it happens in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. That's a good point. Good point.
I actually think it's a nice theme too.
It's nice. I just it feels a little beat over the head. Just that one cut to like the belt. And it just seems like out of place. Like you see John Williams like just scrambling. Where's that theme? Like they just cut to this belt. I gotta find the theme again. Oh my god.
And thinking about, this horse thing where the horse punks him, it did remind me that, okay, so are animals in Indiana Jones movies the meter? Like, do they call out Indy? I'm being dead
They
serious
just have their own
here.
agenda.
Like, okay, so the horse, it's strange. The horse pulls the gag and pulls away from him, but then later lets him mount. Mm-hmm. And then I thought about,
on his own terms.
Yeah,
I
not
guess.
from 12 feet up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not getting landed on.
Yeah.
The elephant in Temple of Doom kicks Willie off, and I even thought about like the cobra in the Well of the Souls. Like it screams at Indy, screams at him. And I just wonder, it's like the animals, what the role is here.
This movie all these movies are really just about the animals. You guys are just now catching on.
We got some good ones coming up in these next couple of minutes too.
Uh-huh.
Well, listen, I kind of was preparing for this, and I kind of knew. I know you guys and your temperament a little bit, and we've had a couple good movies of this, and I kind of knew there was going to be some spots in the movies where you guys were saying, well, oh, good grief, that's an obvious callback to the first movie, and there'll be some examples of that as we go, but I love those in this movie. And this movie really, I think they did them on purpose. I think they had the bump with Temple of Doom, which didn't get the best reviews from the audiences at first. And so I think they said, let's do everything we can to recall that first movie. And for me, as an audience member in 1989, sitting there with my father, who I've seen every one of these movies with, this is a father and son kind of story, and it's got that dad humor that I grew up with, and I think it's hilarious, and so I love this, and I think it's the same kind of thing Jurassic World did recently, just putting in all these little tips back to the first movie that was so popular for them. And while some of it I think is cheesy, and you roll your eyes and go, "Oh gosh, that was an easy one," I think this movie works on so many levels. I really, it's my second favorite for sure.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think my only concern is I think that again, like the worst thing to happen to the Indiana Jones series is Raiders of the Lost Ark, because you're always going to be comparing everything to Raiders. So when they do these callbacks to Raiders, you're kind of like, geez, I wish I was watching Raiders. But if they didn't do as much of that, and if I, as an audience member and as a guy doing this minute by minute, if I wasn't constantly being like, but would they do that in Raiders? Like, I was just enjoying that, but now that I'm thinking about Raiders, I'm weighing it against Raiders. If I can quit doing that, then I will enjoy this movie and think it's a good solid
I will
thing.
I will say this. If we think about in terms of music and what are great songs and songs that are lasting, any genre, doesn't matter what genre it is, the things that stick out and become legendary and classics and that people remember are things to some extent that somewhere in there, somewhere in the song, there's probably something a little edgy. And that's what's going to make it different from something that's safe. And that's what I'm looking for, I think, a little bit. Like looking at Temple of Doom and looking at Last Crusade, they're a little safe.
Wait, what?
They're a little safe compared to Raiders. Now, I know
Temple
you
of Doom?
disagree with that, Pete, because you think Temple of Doom was a vast departure in terms of the story and all that and what they did. And I get that. I get that. I'm not talking about that. But, like, Last Crusade is conservative and safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's why when they do have these callbacks, it's cool. I get it. And maybe it was a sort of penance for Temple of Doom, as we thought of. But it doesn't mean it's going to be like a classic or memorable or as memorable as something when compared with Raiders. Raiders is just a little grittier and a little edgier.
Well, this is a lot of people's favorite Indiana Jones
I think
movie.
a lot of people are going to disagree with that.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't say
I'll stand by you, Jerry.
Yeah.
I'll fight them
I'll
off.
fight-
But a lot of people, I don't
appreciate
want
it.
to offend anybody.
Well, one thing, I mean, that you mentioned here, and we're talking about the callbacks. I mean, and I think this is a great scene and a great, a great little minute here with this chase, right? The chase that we have with Indy on the horse and the bad guys in the car. I mean, it's exactly like Raiders, and it's a mismatch. It's a mismatch right off the bat, and it's even just like Raiders is, where you have 40 guys who are familiar with the landscape in South America chasing Indiana Jones. He's dressed really not for running through the pampas there, but
So I actually agree with you that this is a mismatch, but I think after a little bit of research, it's a mismatch in a direction that surprised me.
Oh.
Do tell.
You got Fedora, whistles for his truck and the Panama hat to show up in the car, and then they take off chasing Indy. And I was like, okay, they've got a car and a truck. There's no way Indy can get away from them on a horse. But if you go to the Internet Movie Cars database, which is as helpful as the Internet Movie Firearms database, the truck is a Ford Model TT, and the top speed of a Ford Model TT truck is 22 miles an hour.
Wow.
A horse can gallop 25 to 30 miles an hour, and there's no way that truck's going to go top speed over this rough terrain.
Right,
so
right.
Indy's got a pretty good advantage over the truck, which is actually also a 1917 truck, so a bit anachronistic. And in the car that Panama Hat shows up in is a Saxon Model 14, and that's also a little too late. That's 1915. But this was a car that was made to compete with cycle cars, which were these kind of hybrids, sort of a price point between a motorcycle and a car. And they were also notoriously slow and poor handling, and that was even slower than the truck, I think.
Wow.
So Indy actually outclassed them just about every way you think about it.
well, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Do you think he picked out that horse, like, when he went off on the scouting thing, like, just in case? I'll take the 25 mile an hour.
No, I think he took Herman's horse.
Oh, for real? Literally?
No, I'm just guessing. But
well, but that would explain it, because the horse. I mean, did the Herman's horse kind of nudged him? He jounced him. He jounced Herman off. Yeah, Herman's horse.
Because that was probably Indy's horse. He took the good horse at the beginning.
And if Herman's been jumping on that horse, the horse isn't going to put up with that.
Yeah,
no, horse isn't going to put up with that. It's true.
What do you think all those crates are in the back of the truck? See, there are a bunch of crates with tarps over them, and I was kind of wondering, is it possible that Fedora is actually gathering stuff for that warehouse we see in Raiders?
Like he works for the he's hired by the government.
He actually is trying to put stuff in a museum or in a government warehouse.
Yeah,
he's one of the top men.
Yeah, maybe he's one of. Wow, what if he's one of the top men? I like that.
Maybe this is where he meets Baby Porkins.
Maybe. We should explain to John that we're working on. Yeah, Herman is. We're working on the theory that that's actually eaten.
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you mean working on?
It's solid. It's gospel.
It's done.
I'm sorry.
It's not a hypothesis.
It's right there in front of you. Use your eyes. Oh, we should ask John.
Yes.
I mean, we're not to say that we're done with this minute, but on the previous minute, we failed and we didn't invite you in time. But we did have a snake in the previous minute. There's like a snake that Indy plucks off of Eaton's pants.
Yeah, very calmly, and says, "It's only a snake. What are you worried about?" kind of thing.
But it's Indiana Jones. He's supposed to be scared of snakes.
No,
what's going on?
This is pre-ophidiophobia.
Okay.
So that's a garter snake. It's a in this case it's a red-sided garter snake. It's very close to the snake that would be native there. The snake that would be native in that part of Utah is a wandering garter snake or a western garter snake. And this one is actually an eastern garter snake that's found from from up in Canada, and it just happened to be one that was easily available in the pet trade. So it's a good match for the area. There's not a ton of water in those areas of Utah, but where there is, there's often amphibians, and you'll find these snakes there. They eat frogs and salamanders and insects and things like that.
Can you tell if it's from 1917 or 1912?
And they're called garter snakes. A lot of people mispronounce that and say garden snake. They think, these are found in their garden, and so that's the name. But I think they're named after the garter that goes around the woman's, leg and holds up the pantyhose.
I always thought it was garden snake too, and I thought that was one of those like Garden of Eden type things.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Like first snake we all hear about.
Yeah.
So
I
mean, hey,
I thought it was gardener snake.
Gardener snake.
I was even weirder.
I mean,
do
snakes out west live in caves?
It wouldn't be uncommon for that to happen. There's some cave crickets in there that would be decent food, and maybe even some bats. That snake's a little small to get to a bat, I think. But that's a good place to get out of that desert heat, and caves always hold some humidity, which is helpful for them to survive in it.
Pretty odd. So they did their homework there. This isn't one of those Yahweh things where like Yahweh gathered snakes from around the world to guard the cross of Coronado.
Yeah. He didn't pluck a king cobra off of Eaton's pants.
Yeah.
Right.
We get some some funny voices like, "Hey, come back here," and they're kind of chasing him, and he sees the train in the distance and hightails it for the train. And you see on the side of the train, Dunn and Duffy Circus, world's tallest giraffes, high wire acts, and acrobats. And I know, John, you made a pretty nice model of this train.
Yeah, only because I was doing this research for you guys, and I watched the scene over and over again, and I kept saying, I've said it for years, why doesn't some model train company make a miniature version of this? Because that's what I'd love to have going around my Christmas tree every year. It's just a cool little thing. So I just went ahead and did it. I've got the 5 cars done with the real circus stuff on it. I haven't done the flatbed stuff or the caboose yet. I think I found a good caboose on eBay that'll be close, but I'm working on it.
When you were building it, were you listening to frolicsome shrubgrass chaparral pompous mischief music?
Of course.
At second 37, we see the other bad guy in the car, right? And it's a Belloc-looking type. And, of course, what is he wearing? The exact same outfit that Indy wears at the beginning of Temple of Doom. The white tux with the red carnation or red boutonniere. Uh-huh. And I'm wondering, just in the first 6-7 minutes here, I ask you guys, is there anything original about Indiana Jones? Or does he just Belloc steal from everyone? Like, is his entire persona is plagiarized?
Yeah, and it's plagiarized from grave robbers.
Well, to be fair, we're catching him in his teen years where you kind of do that. You kind of
that's true.
You latch on to like whatever like the cool guy is doing, and you try to make it your own a little bit, and he just never got out of that.
And then you decide it's cool, and you never stop wearing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, members only jacket, Jerry.
Talking about you.
Remo Williams.
Well, I was just going to say, we've got Indiana Jones on a horse again, and, at the end of all these movies where there's animals in there, there's a line that you see at the end that says, "No animals were harmed in the making of this film." And that is a group called the AMA, the American Humane Association. They're people who are really looking out for the welfare of animals that are being used in entertainment. And they came about because there was a film being done. It was a film in 1939 called Jesse James, and it starred Tyrone Power and Henry Fonda. And these two guys are on horseback. They've been doing all the things they've been doing. They're getting chased, and they're supposed to come to the edge of a ravine and get forced off the edge of the ravine. So the horse and the riders have to jump into a shallow creek in the bottom of this ravine. And so they're filming this thing, and they know it's not going to be easy. And I was referring to how smart the horses are. They couldn't get a horse to leap off of the cliff. They found a cliff with a deep lake, so that everybody would be all right to land in the water. But the horse refused, and so they actually had to put the horse on a piece of wood and tilt the wood up until it slid off. And so they could only do it with one horse, and they filmed from two different angles because there were supposed to be two characters that made this jump. So they forced the horse off the thing. The horse and rider come apart in the air and land in the water. And then since they shot it from two different angles, this seems like it's really complicated and amazing for 1939. They put both of those angles together in the film so it looked like two horses and two riders did the jump. And,
wow.
And so the horse survived the jump, but it panicked when it realized that it was in deep water, and it ended up drowning. And so there was
my God.
The whole scene is in the movie. They used it, but there was a big public outcry about the horse dying, and so the AMA was created to look after animals in film after that point.
Wow.
Huh.
That's crazy.
That is kind of crazy, which leads me to our next question here. The world's tallest giraffes is is that how the world's tallest giraffe would travel? And that's a question specifically for you, John. Like, would the National Giraffe Association approve?
Well, if they're going to get to Goshen before the county fair, they got to travel by train.
Is that how? How do you transport giraffes?
It's a great question, and giraffes are notoriously hard to transport. But even as short a time ago as 2014, a giraffe was killed because it was being transported in the back of a truck in this very way, and its head got hit by the overpass. So they went under.
God.
Yeah, and this has happened in South Africa. It wasn't in the U.S. But so yeah, giraffes have this long neck that is, you can't just stick them in a bending position and like stretch them out in that train, and they don't sit down or lie down for long periods very well. Yeah. So yeah, I this is actually how giraffes would have been moved in a circus in the teens, whatever that is.
Wow. Okay.
I learned that from Dumbo.
I feel like if you're transporting a giraffe, you're going to pay attention to the clearances.
Yeah, well, you would hope so.
That would be like the first thing you would do.
Yeah, but you think that about guys who drive these trucks for a living, and there's some great videos online of them just ramming their trucks into overpasses.
That's actually true.
I saw that recently.
I saw that one too.
In life.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw it in real life?
In town. Yeah, like it was like someone had taken like a can opener to the top of his truck, just like peeled it back. Wow. I was like, wow, like I'm amazed that guy did that, and I feel horrible for him, and that truck looks incredible. Like did that actually happen? Like a whole mix of emotions. But yeah, it happens. No giraffes were harmed.
I was curious what the world's tallest giraffe was.
Yeah, that's an interesting saying, because I really feel like later, in the next minute, we'd be talking about, maybe 2 minutes from now, that it should be the world's tallest rhinoceros. I don't know that we just know giraffes are tall. It being the world's tallest doesn't seem like a big attraction to me. Not as cool as the raging rhino or the deadly lion.
I think that's why
Killer Clown.
Dunn and Duffy went out of business.
Yeah.
A lot of false
D-O-N-E and Duffy.
A lot of false advertising there.
The largest I saw in real that anyone has ever measured is a giraffe named George in Kenya, who was 19 feet tall.
Wow. No, see, you're talking about giraffes, so I don't even know if that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
Regular
Yeah, I
giraffe.
don't have any idea what that means.
Like 15 or something.
Yeah.
That does sound rather tall.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with giraffes.
Yeah, giraffes are amazing. They give birth to a long-legged thing, which is tricky enough to get all those legs out and not have them catch on something on the way out. And then the baby drops like 6 or 7 feet from the mom. She's standing when she gives birth, drops to the ground, which may be the equivalent of slapping a baby so it takes its first breath. I don't know, but it just, it's welcoming to the world is hitting the ground from 6 feet up, and then she, tries to turn around and lick the afterbirth off of it and get it to stand within the first 15 or 20 minutes, because it's got to get its food on the hoof, so it's got to get moving with mom, or otherwise it's in trouble.
Wow.
Boy, is nature weird.
Yeah.
But it works. I mean, you hear that story, you're like, wow, why did they do that? That's horrible. Well, there's lots of giraffes, and they've been procreating for thousands of years. Okay.
I mean, I'm stuck at licking afterbirth.
Yeah,
I know you are. I know you are.
He's gonna be thinking about that for a long time.
There's a lot of that's the sort of stuff you're supposed to you put in your smoothies, right?
Yeah,
it's like
a nice placenta smoothie.
Yeah, exactly. It's good for the coat.
Right.
On that note,
yeah. Anybody have anything else for minute 6?
No, wait a minute.
Oh.
Yeah, we're getting something coming through the wires here.
Oh, hey, all right.
Oh my gosh, it's a baby giraffe. Look out!
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. What do Don Knotts, Slim Pickens, and Tim Conway have in common?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Why, it's the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Hey! Wait, was Slim Pickens in the Apple Dumpling?
I was kind of in that. I think she's talking to about the sort of the treatment of the bad guys here, coming down with the, hey!
A hooting and a hollering.
Yeah, say you! Get him!
Surely she Googled that before she sent the telegram, so I'm sure it's right.
Oh.
I know, she wouldn't send an unverified
It was actually, there's also Harry Morgan was in there, too.
Oh, hey.
Oh, sure.
Well, on that note, John, thanks for joining us today. And what would you tell people if they'd like to learn more about you or your zoo or what you do?
Thank you. I work for the St. Augustine Alligator Farm Zoological Park, and it's a silly name. We're not a farm, but so we're not making belts and wallets out of our critters. But it's an accredited zoo, and it's the only place in the world you can see every species of crocodile and alligator. But it's also got some other cool birds and monkeys and things like that. So if you just go to alligatorfarm.com, you'll see all the cool stuff we have.
And I would just like to add, I've been to the St. Augustine Alligator Farm and Zoo. That's, well, not a farm because you don't make stuff, but it is.
Take that.
Take that. It was absolutely a frolicking great time. It was fantastic. I would recommend anybody, if, like I said, if you're in the Western Hemisphere, it is worth going.
Cool. And Tom, if someone wants to have another kind of frolicking good time, is there anything you'd recommend?
Oh, yeah. The best time you could possibly have as a fan of this show is going to our Facebook group, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade, where people will be debating, whether you measure a giraffe from the back or from the top of the head, or like what actually counts, or the spires count when you're measuring, like what's the tallest giraffe, all that stuff. Join us over there because it is a frolicking good time, which is the best kind of good time, as we have proven. Frolicking.
Yes. Don't tell Jerry, though.
No.
And if you want to keep having a frolicking good time, you can also join us back here tomorrow, same place you found us today, for minute 7 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Licking off the afterbirth, licking off the afterbirth, licking off the... It's kind of catchy. Listen, every great time, it's got to be edgy. It's got to be edgy.
It's going to be a hit.
Yeah.
It's going to be on the hit
parade. It's going to be remembered in 50 years.